those of you who've watched the Godfather series, you'll know the trilogy has 3 great films. They're all powerful and great actors are involved. But if you explore the storyline and reflect, you can actually see a lot of life lessons that can apply to life and to business. I saw the film first and then I actually read the book, and that says something because those of you who know me know that I don't read a lot of books, but the book is great, the films are fantastic. And at its core, the Godfather series is not just about crime. It's about governance, power, and succession. When you strip away the crime and violence, what you're left with are business lessons that can be applied to boardrooms, businesses, and challenging projects. I'm going to share with you my top 10 lessons based on the things I've seen and learned from the Godfather series. Here we go. Number 1, never act on emotion when making strategic decisions. Vito Corleone repeatedly warns his hot-headed son, Sonny, around being reactive. And ultimately we see that Sonny's temper gets him killed. We rarely see Vito lose his cool in meetings and pressure. And in the entire film, I think I only see Michael lose his cool a few times. Emotion clouds judgment. Major decisions should be made with a little bit of calmness, a little bit of distance, and by reviewing data. As leaders, we often face challenges, limited time, resources, constant pressure, making decisions quickly. However, the most successful organizations are those that apply discipline, clarity, and long-term thinking. It's good to think with your gut, or to go with your gut decision sometimes. But if you constantly go with your gut, often this can lead to long-term problems. Don't avoid the data. Always look at signs and signals. And importantly, never act on emotion when making strategic decisions. You can build decision checkpoints. For instance, if a common issue is that you don't understand how much you spend every year, put a budget together. Put a spending limit together. If you've got to spend over £1,000, maybe you need to speak with one of your partners and 2 people need to approve the spend. Or maybe if you're going to move to a new supplier, there needs to be a specific process for it. But put the controls in place which allow you to pause, review the facts, if needed, get a second opinion before committing. But take the emotion out of decision making. Number 2, relations are more important than transactions. We see early in the film, we talk about the fact that, I did him a favor and someday I may ask for one in return. Long-term relationships often outperform short-term gains. This is true within your company and externally. And I speak a lot about building relations with customers because customer relationships can be more profitable than single transactions. In this instance, the film's talking about partnerships, and Vito specifically is referring to deals or arrangements he has with his suppliers and people of influence. In addition, we see that Michael recognizes that his relations with his team, his bodyguards, all his capos, is based around what he gives them. And he says, our people are businessmen. And what he means is that they've also got to earn for themselves and their families. When you're aware of those relationships, then you need to make sure that there's profit in the deals for everyone. And don't try and take all your money in one go. Suppliers, if you're trying to fleece your suppliers, then they won't make any money. They'll compromise on quality or something else as well. So think beyond the immediate deal, and trust can become a great lever when markets turn, and relationships can give you much more benefit in the long term than any short-term gains. Number 3, know who your real competitors are. Now, throughout the first film, the Corleones have never really feared small operators. They watch the rival families and they look to understand who the power brokers are. It's very late in the first film when Vito realizes that his real competition is really Barzini, who had been pulling all the strings in the background. Not every competitor will matter. Focus on those who can really affect your position by identifying them. And don't just react to every new startup or price cutter. Look at those competitors who are able to have scale, influence, and can pose a strategic threat to you and your business. Number 4, succession planning is non-negotiable. Vito's failure to fully prepare Sonny was catastrophic for Sonny. Later, Michael had a very reluctant rise to power. These showed that Vito had not put enough work into succession planning. Later in the film, I think he rectifies this really well by semi-retiring and mentoring Michael. And this is the way I'd always suggest that businesses, whether they're small businesses or big businesses, should behave. If the business depends on one person, then that business is really fragile. If that person is sick, ill, or if that person just moves on, that business can fall apart. And you've got to remember, your responsibility is not only to yourself, but also to future generations, your shareholders, your staff, because these guys have all got their own careers that they want to develop. They've got their own mortgages they want to pay. It's really important to identify successors early, develop leaders early, document knowledge, and reduce single points of failure in the organization. I love this Richard Branson quote here, where he talks about training people so well that become valuable assets in their own right, but then treating them so well that they don't leave. Number 5, appear reasonable, but be decisive. We see Vito as a very calm and courteous person until a line is crossed. He sets clear boundaries and he ensures that everyone knows where you are. For Michael, we probably see him less calm, but more decisive and clear in his intentions. Good leaders are fair, but they're definitely not weak. They're clear communicators. And the takeaway for me here is simple. Leadership is not just about control. It's about creating clarity, building trust, and enabling others to succeed. Bullies are not long tolerated, and softies often do not achieve long-term success. So as a leader, you've got to be reasonable, but you must be decisive when making decisions. Number 6, timing matters more than speed. We famously see in the first film that Michael waits patiently before eliminating all of his threats in one coordinated move. Reacting too early when he was not prepared to do the complete plan would not have given him the best result. Moving at the right time and the right moment is better than just moving quickly. People sometimes go first and ending up learning all the mistakes, and those who follow benefit from those lessons. Now, that doesn't mean that you go last, right? Because going slowly or in too many stages can also be detrimental. You may have taken so long to complete your plan that the current state of the business world or current state of technology is no longer what customers wanted. So you've got to get timing right, and you shouldn't be eager to be the first, unless, of course, you have everything checked off and you know exactly what you're doing. So timing matters. Make sure you pick the right time and make sure you're not late to the party. Number 7, protect the core value of your business at all costs. Now, Vito refuses to enter the narcotics trade because he thinks it's going to destroy his political protection and long-term stability. And he wanted to stick to the core values of the business. Not all growth is good growth. And this lesson really reinforces the importance of aligning your people, processes, and technology to ensure that everybody is culturally aligned to the core purpose, direction, and values of the business. You do want to avoid revenue streams that could damage your brand, culture, or your standing in the business, even if you think they're short-term profitable. Now, this ties in with what I talked about before in terms of making strategic decisions, not emotionally, but factually. But ensure that you don't keep changing values or direction, and ultimately end up confusing your customers and your staff around what the core values of your business are. Number 8, never tell anyone outside of the family what you're thinking. Now, this quote happens in the first film and the third film as Michael is mentoring the new Godfather in the third film. But in the first film, Vito's really clear in this meeting that's taking place with a new potential supplier about exposing any of the things that we're thinking about outside of the trusted circle. Why is it important? It's important because if you suddenly lay open all of your thoughts, concerns, and aspirations, then it's easy for your competitors to understand them and then take advantage of them. It can impact your ability in terms of having a strong brand. It can impact your ability to share or to keep secret what are strategic opportunities that you have and ways of working and the culture of your organization. How you operate matters as much as what you deliver. And keeping things quiet until they're done is often really important in order to protect your IP or protect your strategy. Once these things are out in the open, once they're damaged, it could be expensive and sometimes it could be impossible to recover. So even though everyone wants to share everything on social media, sometimes it's better to keep things quiet until they're executed or done, and be clear who your trusted circle is with whom you share strategy and ideas and brainstorm possible things that you're going to do in the future. Number 9, centralized strategy, but decentralized execution. The model that the Corleones operate is really simple. Strategy is set at the top, direction is set at the top, but capos run their own territories. So each of the capos runs their own region, their territory, but it's under the leadership and direction that has been set at the top. And this is really important for 2 reasons. First of all, strategy is set centrally, so we're all on the same page, we're all in the same direction. But from the top to the bottom, if you are running things and trying to manage everybody as to what they're doing locally, this can be a challenge because you don't have all the facts and you also don't have all the relationships in place. It's important that you set clear vision and rules at the top, but you empower managers to have their tactics to how they work locally with their teams and to their local markets. And this works really well because everyone is going towards the same overall strategy, but they're being adaptive and flexible at a local level to ensure that whatever things are happening in the local markets or the local teams is being dealt with, and it's not something that everybody has to deal with. Number 10, don't be afraid to adapt with changing market conditions. This is something that happens through all 3 films. In the first film, we see Vito making peace with the other families, despite having been adamant that he would never do that. In later films, we see the Corleones sell up their interests in New York and move into different businesses, even moving across country. And in the third film, we see the move with Internationale Immobiliare into the finance world in order to meet the challenges and the demands and the changes in the economy, but also to take advantage of new opportunities which could be there beneficial for the family, for the stakeholder, for everyone involved. For me, true authority is not around how much you can hold your position and be resilient to not being influenced to make change. It's actually around knowing when to change and adapt. You should seek counsel, you should put in controls and measurements to understand when things are changing and things are not performing. And we talked before about moving too late can be difficult, but not moving at all can be catastrophic. And we've seen this with so many businesses over the last 5 years who just didn't adapt and then they were extinct. If you look at Apple, throughout their history, they've made statements and then they've changed so many times. Admitting that you need to change is a strength, not a weakness. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again and you expect a different result, that's not clever. That's foolish. Let results, consistency, and calm confidence establish how you, as a leader, are going to take your business forward, and communicate how you're going to change and why you're going to change, so everyone is around you and is clear and they're with you. And this is the most important thing. Holding still, keeping the same strategy is often detrimental in the long term. Maybe your goals don't change, but the way you do things can change. So that was 10 business lessons from the Godfather trilogy, which you can apply to your business or to your team. I'll just summarize them again for you. Never act on emotion in strategic decisions. Build relationships, they're more important than transactions. Do market analysis so you can understand who your real competitors are. Develop leaders because they will be the future of your business, and succession planning should be there from day one. Appear reasonable as a leader, but be decisive. Timing matters more than speed. Get the timing right and then move when you believe the factors are in your favor. Protect the core value of your businesses. Never tell anyone outside of the business what you're thinking or doing or planning. Centralize strategy, but decentralize execution. And the last one, don't be afraid to adapt when market conditions change. Hopefully you've enjoyed this adaptation of business lessons from the Godfather series, and see how many of these you can apply and adapt into your business.